Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, UFC 300 is finally here, and thank God for that, because those last few fight nights were pretty awful, relatively speaking. Now, in my opinion, this card is absolutely fantastic, despite what so many other people have said about it. Sure, there's a few fights on here I probably could have done without, but hey, it is what it is. Overall, I think it's great, and I cannot wait for Saturday night. So I am here to give my picks and a brief preview for every single fight on the card, starting with the first fight of the night, working our way up. And as usual, I try to go through some of the earlier fights a little bit faster, so I can spend more time on the main event, the co-main event, feature bout, and things like that. However, there are a lot of really good fights on this card, so this one might run a little bit longer than normal, but I will try to keep it as short as possible. Okay, now let's get to it right away with the first fight of the night, which is Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. Now, I am picking Deiveson Figueiredo here because I don't trust Cody's chin even a little bit, okay? Also, I'm liking Figueiredo's straight punches versus Cody's wild looping hooks from the hip, especially since Deiveson Figueiredo will have a slight reach advantage, and I think that with his straighter shots, he's going to be able to take full advantage of that. Also, we have seen that Figueiredo's power carries up to bantamweight. He hurt Rob Font a whole bunch on the feet, pardon me. And in my opinion, Rob Font is a much more technically sound, fundamentally sound boxer than Cody Garbrandt. Now, he might not be as fast, he might not be as powerful, but in my opinion, on the feet, he is actually a lot more technically sound. Now, Cody Garbrandt, I think this fight could look quite similar to the Trevin Jones situation, only I think Cody Garbrandt will find himself in trouble if he is shooting on Deiveson Figueiredo. So in that Trevin Jones fight, because Brian Kelleher is no real knockout threat, okay, which was Cody Garbrandt's last win. It was in spectacular fashion, but Brian Kelleher is not somebody that you really need to worry about putting you out cold, okay? Against Trevin Jones, Cody Garbrandt seemed to be almost afraid to engage on the feet, shooting takedowns like crazy. And in the third round, there was even a moment where Trevin Jones had him on his bike because he had tagged Cody Garbrandt pretty good and hurt Cody Garbrandt right away. As soon as he connects cleanly, Cody Garbrandt was hurt, shooting for takedowns. And unironically, dude, I could see Figueiredo locking up a guillotine here, even though at a high-level MMA, it's not really supposed to work and oftentimes doesn't work. I could see Cody Garbrandt being hurt enough to the point where it would. So I think Figueiredo hurts him on the feet. I think Cody panics, shoots. I think Figueiredo ends up locking up a submission of some kind. I have something in my eye, but we will just continue anyways, dude. That is my pick for the first fight of the night. Now let us move up the card to Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Whoops, dude. Don't know why it did that. Either way, Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Let's continue. Okay, now I'm going to be going with Jim Miller here. Bobby Green's style, in my opinion, is just so poor defensively speaking. His hands are always down. His head movement is not all he makes it up to be. And Jim Miller, in my opinion, has looked fucking fantastic as of late, okay? I could see him chopping Bobby's legs down, which is something that he has started doing, and also puts a lot more steam on his shots. Jim Miller, it seems like he has this newfound confidence once he hit 40 years of age, which is absolutely crazy to see. He truly is an anomaly, man. I could also see Jim Miller finding a submission at some point in this fight, dude. In his last 6 fights, dude's 5-1. All 5 of those wins by finish, okay? And even the fight with Alexander Hernandez, which I think was a split decision loss, was razor close. There were people that thought Jim Miller did enough to get the job done, but either way, dude, he's going with guys a hell of a lot younger than him, way earlier in their career, and he's holding up fine, dude. It's crazy, right? As I said, he seems to be putting a lot more behind his strikes. Bobby Green is open for leg kicks. His hands are always down. I think Jim Miller is going to hurt his legs. And I think at some point we could see Jim Miller shoot for a takedown. And I think that if he does get Bobby Green down, I don't think Bobby Green has the best of time down there. So let us move on now to Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. Okay, I'm going with Andrade, I guess, dude. Honestly, who knows? This is women's MMA. Anything could happen. Marina Rodriguez has looked good in moments. I think Andrade's power will be the difference, though, especially considering they are at strawweight. Jessica Andrade's power seems to be the most significant at strawweight, obviously. We've seen Rodriguez get knocked out by Amanda Lemos, who, in my opinion, she's probably like the second hardest hitting 150 strawweight. Her and Jessica Andrade are probably pretty close in that regard. Now, Andrade does not have the best technique. She does leave herself open, so I could see a world where Marina Rodriguez is like piecing her up at range, just sticking the jab out there, straight shots, versus Andrade's looping shots. I don't know that Marina Rodriguez will be able to ragdoll Andrade the way that like an Erin Blanchfield was, right? Because we are back down at strawweight rather than flyweight, so the size difference is going to be a lot less significant for Jessica Andrade. So I'm going to go with Andrade to get a TKO at some point. But again, dude, women's MMA, who knows? Anything could happen. Moving up the card to Jalen Turner versus Renato Money Moicano, okay? I'm going with Jalen Turner, unfortunately, dude. As much as I love Money Moicano and his 62-year-old dad who just had a baby, I like Money Moicano a lot, but I have to pick Jalen Turner here. I think Jalen Turner is way more dangerous on the feet. Okay, he'll have a good reach advantage, and considering Jalen Turner uses a lot of straight shots, a lot of attacks up the middle, front kicks and shit like that, I think it's going to play a significant factor in this fight. Also, he was able to essentially neutralize Mateusz Gamrot's ground game, right? Like, he almost won that fight, dude. That was a split decision, and honestly, he probably could have, because Mateusz Gamrot, taking him down, did absolutely nothing. Like, Jalen Turner was able to stay completely safe against a guy who's been able to ragdoll quite a few people in the lightweight division, right? Also, he's never been submitted in his career. I don't think Renato Moicano is going to KO him. Maybe Money Moicano could do what he did against Drew Dober and kind of, like, you know, stack up a bunch of control time, shit like that, pass guard and what have you, but I don't know that it's going to be that easy, especially considering Jalen Turner, in my opinion, is a lot better at decision making than Drew Dober is, at the very least on the feet and from at range. I don't think that he's going to be over swinging and allowing Renato Moicano to get underhooks on him and then from there get taken down. I think he's going to stay at range, try to play it safe, and find a good shot. And Renato Moicano, I just don't, the danger on the feet is not necessarily there for me. And we've seen him get hurt on the feet by quite a few people before. And I don't know that he's going to have an easy time getting Jalen Turner to the ground and then submitting him. Jalen Turner has a crazy frame for lightweight and seems to give a lot of guys problems when they do tangle up with him. His legs are long, his arms are long, like everything about him. He's 6'3" at fucking lightweight. Do you know what I mean? It's insane. So, as much as I love Money Moicano, I am going with Jalen Turner to get this one done. I don't know. I'm going to go by decision. I think Jalen Turner is going to just be able to do enough to win rounds, do enough damage and what have you. Moving up the card to Sodiq Yusuff or Diego Lopes. This for me is probably like the sleeper fight of the card. Diego Lopes is pretty popular, relatively speaking, especially since he is a newer dude. But I feel like this fight's kind of getting overshadowed a bit by a lot of the other big names on this card. I am going with Diego Lopes here, okay? Dude could be 3-0 in his UFC career, in my opinion. I think he should have gotten the nod against Movsar Evloev, who is right now at the top of the division and is, like, you know, right on the cusp of a title shot. So the fact that Diego Lopes comes in on short notice, on his debut, goes toe-to-toe with Movsar Evloev, and in my opinion, and the opinion of many others, wins, essentially because he was the one that was more active in the grappling exchanges. While he might have been on the bottom, he was the one going for heel hooks. He was the one, like, do you know what I mean? He was the one doing the attacking in those exchanges, but the judges seem to favor the control time in that instance, even though they are not supposed to, right? So this dude could be 3-0 and against a guy who is literally on the cusp of a fucking title shot. And then he goes out there and he gets back-to-back finishes against decent level competition, showing us prowess in both his striking and his grappling. One submission, one knockout. The dude can basically do it all. And in my opinion, Sodiq Yusuff, there's nothing really special about him. And I do feel like that last fight against Edson Barboza could be weighing on his mind a little bit. So Sodiq Yusuff has won quite a few decisions before in the past, so I don't know that going 3 rounds is an issue for him. But against Edson Barboza, he did gas himself out, right? I could see a world where Sodiq Yusuff is a little bit hesitant to throw, to let himself really go, because he doesn't want to gas out against a dangerous guy like Diego Lopes, and maybe that hesitancy creates openings for Diego Lopes. And I don't know, man. I think that Diego Lopes is a very skilled individual, and I think that we're going to see that on Saturday night against Sodiq Yusuff. Anyways, dude, I could see a submission. Moving up the card to Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. This is one of those fights I probably could have done without, if I'm being fucking honest. Okay, now I'm going to go with Kayla Harrison. As I said, I don't really care about this fight, but either way, dude, I think in later years, Holly Holm has gotten away from her at-range striking, which in my opinion would have been her best path to victory against a girl like Kayla Harrison. In recent years, Holly Holm's strategy seems to be, I'm going to push my opponent up against the cage, and that's it. That's it. I'm going to hold them there as best I can. I'll get separated by the referee, and I will go right back to doing that, right? Whereas before, we see her put down Betch Cajeda with a fucking head kick. We see her drop Durandamy with a head kick, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, the Ronda Rousey knockout. Like, Holly Holm used to be, as far as women go, a pretty lethal striker. It doesn't seem to be the case anymore. She's really gotten away from it, and I don't think that pushing your opponent up against the cage is gonna fare well when you're facing an Olympic judoka like Kayla Harrison. Do you know what I mean? So, unfortunately, I think this one will probably go to decision, especially considering we saw Kayla Harrison go to a decision with Aspen fucking Ladd. Okay, which in my opinion kind of proves that the PFL competition is not even close to being on par with UFC. But regardless, dude, either fucking way, Hopefully we get a finish so that this fight does not drag on, because if it does drag on, I would imagine it's going to be Kayla Harrison just laying on top of Holly Holm for the better part of 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going with Kayla Harrison, and that's a wrap. Moving up the card, 2, Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. Now, I've gone Calvin Kattar in this fight, okay? Calvin Kattar at featherweight. Dude has like a 91% takedown defense, okay? He, in my opinion, had one of the closer fights with Zabit Magomedsharipov. My bad, dude. Been a while since I've had to say that name, which was ultra impressive at the time. And had that fight actually been a proper 5-round main event, who knows, dude? Calvin Kattar might have gone on to win that one. Zabit was the one that opted out for a 5-round and asked for a 3-round main event, but Zabit was struggling at moments to take Calvin Kattar down. Calvin Kattar has defended takedowns against a lot of guys at featherweight, dude. And in my opinion, Aljamain Sterling, while he is a big filled out dude, is not going to look giant at featherweight. That's just my opinion, dude. I understand that sometimes moving a weight class can be the answer for some of these guys, but I think that Aljamain Sterling's game almost required him to be quite a bit bigger than most of his opponents. Do you know what I mean? I feel like the reason why, once he gets your back, once he gets you on the ground, the reason why he's so dominant, or at the very least one of the reasons, is because of his size, his strength, compared to some of these guys. In my opinion, Petr Yan could almost be a flyweight. Do you know what I mean? Aljamain Sterling is a giant bantamweight, but I don't know that he's going to look that big at featherweight. And also, touched on Calvin Kattar's takedown defense there, 91%. Aljamain Sterling's takedown accuracy is like 27%. Now, I understand that he can chain shit together, and he's going to maybe get 1 of 4, but if he's chaining, it's all in one exchange. But I don't know, man. His entries are kind of shit, very sloppy, and we saw that against Sean O'Malley. His boxing is not great at all. Now, I would imagine he's going to throw a lot of teep kicks, leg kicks, and shit like that, kind of like we saw him do against Pedro Munoz, to allow himself to close the gap. I think he's going to go out there aggressive and not want to fight the same way that he fought Sean O'Malley, but I think that that could end up being to his detriment, because Calvin Kattar is a pretty crisp and clean boxer, and while he's been beaten up, you know, quite a few times, he does go toe-to-toe with a lot of the guys at the top of featherweight. Aljamain Sterling, his striking is not very good, okay? That's just, or at the very least, his boxing is not very good. And I don't think that he's going to be able to just easily take Kattar down, take his back, and that's a wrap. Do you know what I mean? I just don't see it. So I'm going to go with Calvin Kattar by decision. I think that he's going to be able to do more damage in between these rounds. I think he's going to be able to stuff most of Aljamain Sterling's takedown. I think that Aljamain Sterling's going to struggle with the dudes that are up a weight class a little bit. He could prove me wrong, and I'm not saying this to be shitty, right? Like, I'm just on it, making my pick honestly, but his entries are kind of sloppy. I feel like a lot of people have noticed that now. I feel like if Corey Sandhagen if they were to run that back, I don't think Sandhagen's allowing himself to be backed up against the fence the way that Aljo was able to get him there, and then throwing a fucking body kick. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going with Calvin Kattar. I think he's going to jab Aljo's face off. I don't think he's going to overswing and allow Aljo to creep in and get underhooks and what have you. And I think that we're going to see Aljamain Sterling's game be a little less effective against guys a bit bigger than him. Now, moving up the card, 2, Yuri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. Okay, dude. I'm going with Alexander Rakic. Now, Yuri is so much fun to watch fight, and I do enjoy the guy. He's very memeable, okay? But I've been saying for a little while, and his fans get super fucking triggered in the comment sections, he is not defensively sound at all. At all. Like, not even a little bit, dude. This is why I picked him to lose against Alex Pereira, and his fans were shitting all over me, and I specifically called out that that Alex Pereira would slip, throw a right hook, right uppercut type deal, and then slip to the left and follow up with the left hook, because Yuri Prochazka just walks onto shots with his hands down, okay? He just does. He's very fun to watch fight. That's true. His fight IQ is just not fantastic. Now, Rakic has been away for quite some time due to an injury, although Yuri Prochazka had a pretty long layoff himself before that Alex Pereira fight. I just think that he's more technically sound. I think that if Yuri Prochazka starts making this like a chaotic, crazy fight, that Alexander Rakic has the tools on the ground and on the feet to kind of slow it down and not allow Prochazka to make it so wild and fucking crazy. Maybe, you know, maybe we get a boring performance from Alexander Rakic where he's kind of just laying on. Like, the Thiago Santos fight was not great. The Anthony Smith fight was not great. But I could see something like that happening here. Yuri Prochazka, he's just wild, man. He's fun to watch fight, right? He is. But I just think that it's Volkan Ozdemir, Dominic Reyes, and these guys that he fought before are just not, they're just not that they're not the top of the division. And Alexander Rakic, I feel like a lot of people have forgotten how good he is because he has been away for so long. But I think that I think he's going to get the job done against Jiri Prochazka. Now, moving up the card, 2, Bo Nickal versus Cody Brundage. Okay, dude. I'm going Bo Nickal because, in my opinion, this is a gift of an opponent to Bo Nickal on a silver platter. Cody Brundage has some of the worst fight IQ of all time, okay? And now he may be on a 2-fight win streak, but one of those was because of an illegal elbow, right? So he got the DQ victory. The other one was a slam KO, right? Do you think that Cody Brundage is picking up Bo Nickal and slamming him on his head? I don't think so, okay? Now, Cody Brundage is powerful on the feet, fair enough, but very little technique. Big overhand rights and shit like that. He's an all-right wrestler, but as I said, he's probably not going to be wrestling with fucking Bo Nickal, okay? Now, if Bo throws that naked head kick like he likes to do off his lead leg, usually off the left leg, it's like a naked switch kick. He kind of just throws it up there, and I just dropped something. Every time he does it, he slips, okay? One time, somebody's going to time that, and they're going to catch him on the way up because it is a little sloppy. He doesn't ever set it up. He just throws it. I just don't think that Cody Brundage is that, man. Cody Brundage, dude, I say this every time Cody Brundage fights, but I picked him to beat Rodolfo Vieira, and I thought, this guy's going to hurt Vieira on the feet and not go to the ground with him right away. You know, he's going to drop him, but he'll let him back up. I said then he'll drop him, he'll let him back up. And then when he feels like he's good and hurt enough that he's not going to be able to lock up a submission, then he might follow him to the ground and finish it off. He hurt Rodolfo Vieira, jumps on the ground immediately, and what do you know, dude? Ends up getting arm triangle. Do you know what I mean? So I think Bo Nickal takes this dude down. I think Bo Nickal arm triangles this dude with almost no resistance whatsoever because it's Cody Brundage, okay? It's a gift of an opponent, in my opinion. Moving up the card, 2, Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Okay, dude, I'm picking Charles Oliveira. The old guard of lightweight, in my opinion, so I'm talking like the Poirier, the GAETHJE, the Oliveira, these guys are so good. And I don't think that this new generation has quite caught up to them yet. Okay, we had Justin Gaethje completely not school, but he beat Fiziev. Okay, he did. And I picked Fiziev to win. Fiziev was a pretty sizable favorite going into that fight. And Justin Gaethje showed us why that was retarded. Okay, then Dustin Poirier against Benoit Saint-Denis. I picked Dustin Poirier and it did not fail. And I'm trusting in Charles Oliveira to do what those other two have been doing, okay? Arman Tsarukyan is good basically everywhere, but he's not special anywhere in my opinion. I think that Charles Oliveira is going to be more dangerous on the feet. I think Charles Oliveira is more dangerous on the ground, as a matter of fact. And I don't think that something that worried me about Charles Oliveira in the Islam Makhachev fight was the way that Charles Oliveira jumps into range with like a jump knee or a jump front kick, leaving himself wide open, and he kind of does it to just close distance. There's been fights where it's worked, where he landed, some of them on Kevin Lee or whatever, but it's just reckless, and he leaves himself open, and it's like terrifying every time he does it, okay? Then when he went out there and fought Beneil Dariush, there was none of that. Also, he went from a guy that's throwing primarily front kicks up the middle to setting up a round kick or a lead leg head kick against Beneil Dariush. It wasn't lead leg, it was rear leg if I'm not mistaken. But either way, beautiful shit. None of that jumping in shit. Beneil Dariush got Charles Oliveira on the ground. Beneil Dariush is an Abu Dhabi world champion, okay? And Charles Oliveira was able to stay safe, was able to actually be the one to do damage off of his back, if I'm remembering correctly, and finished Beneil Dariush in the first round unbelievably impressively. But are we forgetting that he did that before Arman Tsarukyan got a hold of Beneil Dariush, or what, dude? Because Beneil Dariush is the only real name on Arman Tsarukyan's record that is, like, impressive. Whereas you've got Charles Oliveira finishing Dustin Poirier, finishing Michael Chandler, finishing Justin Gaethje, finishing Beneil Dariush, unfucking believable, right? His resume is insane. Arman Tsarukyan, in my opinion, is not yet truly tested. And I know he had a close fight with Gamrot that he could have potentially won. But Gamrot's not all that impressive to me either, man. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to trust in the old boy, Charles Oliveira, to get this one done. I think he's going to refrain from throwing those crazy jump-in knees where he's trying to close distance and what have you, where he is open for counters. I think he's going to do what he does best. He's going to fucking march forward. He's going to hurt Arman Tsarukyan, and I think that Arman Tsarukyan is going to shoot, and I think Charles Oliveira will lock up a submission because that's what the fuck he does, okay? Moving up the card. 2, Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. Now, I know this fight is damn near 50-50 in terms of what people are picking. I'm going Gaethje, okay, for a few reasons. Now, I'd be glad if Maxi Boy proved me wrong. I would, but Despite Max having time to fill out, I just don't like him at lightweight, pardon me. I don't like his frame for lightweight. He might even weigh more than Justin Gaethje right now. But Max Holloway's got no shoulders, okay? He's got no chest. And it's just, that's it, dude. Like, and he wasn't a power puncher at featherweight either. Now, he could, I guess, you know, with a cumulative damage, box Gaethje's face off. But I think that Justin Gaethje's defense in his last few fights has improved drastically. And I think that it goes unnoticed a little bit. But when you go look at his fights, like, he comes out of there and he looks relatively unscathed. Fiziev had moments in that fight against Justin Gaethje. At the end of the fight, Justin Gaethje looked fine. Like, he didn't really have any damage to him, whereas Fiziev looked completely and totally battered, right? He's good at rolling with shots. I think a lot of people don't notice. And if he can get past the first round where Trevor Whitman can tell him to take 10% off his shots, it's like a fucking buff, dude. And then he goes back out there in round 2 and is an absolute savage and head kick KOs Dustin Poirier or what have you, dude. You know, it's just, it's crazy. But as I said, his defense has been a lot better as of late. Good at rolling with shots. I still feel like you need to be a power puncher to hurt Gaethje. Like, I know we see him rocked quite a bit, but Charles Oliveira has hurt damn near everybody that he's fought. Dustin Poirier has hurt pretty much everybody that he's fought. Michael Chandler hits hard as fuck. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody that's hurt Justin Gaethje on the feet hits hard, dude. I mean, Eddie Alvarez in crazy war back in the day, but everybody that hurts him hits hard. Max Holloway's not a crazy power puncher, even at the weight class below. So I don't know that he's going to come up here and be able to hurt Justin Gaethje, right? Whereas I do think that Justin Gaethje could hurt Holloway because we've started to see, you know, a guy like Arnold Allen kind of not like fucking, you know, hurt Max Holloway, but have him stumbling a little bit, have him wobbling. Whereas, and I would imagine Justin Gaethje hits harder than Arnold Allen, pardon me. Who knows? Now, and also Max Holloway is a little bit susceptible to leg kicks. I would imagine he's done some things to try to adjust that and make that less of an issue. Sometimes he comes in with a different stance. Sometimes he's more kick heavy, whatever. Old habits die hard. I think Justin Gaethje is going to be able to attack his legs. Now, I don't think Justin Gaethje is going to crack his chin. I don't think we see Max Holloway asleep on the canvas. I think this is going to be like a long, drawn-out 5-round fight. I think that Max is going to start to have success from like maybe halfway through round 3 onward. I think as he picks up. But I think what the difference is going to be is that Justin Gaethje's shots are going to do more physical damage. Max Holloway is prone to get swole up and cut and what have you, even in fights that he is winning by a long shot. Do you know what I mean? He looked beat up against Calvin Kattar. Now, Calvin Kattar looked a hell of a lot worse, but Max Holloway still looked beat up. So I think that the visuals from Gaethje are going to play in the judge's mind, and I think that's going to give him the edge in the scoring department. And I know that Max has moments where he looks really slick on the feet, but he defensively speaking, right, with head movement. My problem is that he holds the record for the most significant strikes, not just landed, but absorbed. So while he has a pretty decent strike differential, he gets hit a fuck ton as well, okay? And I can understand you getting hit a fuck ton against Calvin Kattar and it being okay, maybe. Do you know what I mean? Or some of those guys at featherweight that don't necessarily have like crazy stopping power. But when you're fighting a guy like Justin Gaethje, I don't think you want to absorb all those shots, okay? And I think that if I was to choose who, you know, if I'm Justin Gaethje or Max Holloway, like, whose shots would I rather absorb? I would rather eat Max's shots than Gaethje's shots all night long. Do you know what I mean? So that's my rationale on that. As I said, Max Holloway could prove me wrong. I'm a little bit torn on this fight. I hated this fight when it first got announced. I've come around to it a little bit more, but I just think that the size, the power, I know that the size isn't going to look like there's a crazy size difference, but it's just the frame. Anyways, dude, moving up the card. 2, Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan. Okay, dude. I'm going with Weili. I think Zhang Weili is going to crucifix Yan Xiaonan, which, by the way, Carla Esparza was able to do against Yan Xiaonan, and I think that she's going to end up getting a TKO stoppage from the crucifix position. Because if you allow Carla Esparza to crucifix you and TKO you in that fashion, and we saw what I know this is MMA math a little bit, but we saw what Zhang Weili did to Carla Esparza, and in my opinion, Zhang Weili is a lot better on the feet than Carla Esparza, okay? I think it's going to be no issues for Zhang Weili. I think she's going to be able to avoid the big counter shots of Yan Xiaonan the way that she was able to avoid the big shots of Amanda Lemos. And I think that Yan Xiaonan will be easier to deal with on the ground, as I said. than we have seen of other girls in the past. You know what I mean? And it seems like Zhang Wei, like Rose Namajunas is the Michael Johnson of the fucking strawweights when she was still there. Do you know what I mean? The chicks that she loses to, it's like, okay, what the fuck, dude? You lost to her, really? But then you see that she beats like all the top girls. And those are the only 2 losses since Zhang Weili's, I believe, debut fight. And I don't see Yan Xiaonan getting it done. She's lost to Marina Rodriguez. She got finished by Carla Esparza. I don't see it. Do you know what I mean? They're closer in height, whereas Amanda Lemos had quite a bit of a height advantage, reach advantage on Zhang Weili. These 2 girls are equal in reach and just an inch apart in height. So I think Zhang Weili is going to stay on the feet with her for a little bit. When she feels comfortable, she's going to shoot a takedown. I think that she's going to pass whatever guard Yan Xiaonan has relatively easily. I think she gets into a crucifix position. I think she starts dropping elbows and what have you, and it gets stopped. Okay? Moving up the card to the main event. Holy shit, dude. Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. Now, on this fight, dude, I don't want this to seem like a cop-out. I've written no notes whatsoever. I'm just going to talk off the cuff. I've been like, up until a few nights ago, I was going to go with Jamal Hill. And I hate that I'm going to pick against Jamal Hill because he has been nothing but kind to my channel. And I'm not doing this because I dislike Jamal Hill. I'm doing this because of just what I've seen from watching tape. Okay? Now, obviously, I'm not an expert. You can watch whoever the fuck you want. I'm about 51%, 49% in favor of Alex Pereira on this fight. So the reason why I sided with Jamal Hill for so long, up until just a few nights ago, it was actually Sunday night, was because the fact that Jamal Hill's in southpaw for the vast majority of the time, and Alex Pereira's biggest weapon to set up a lot of his shots is they work a lot better when facing an orthodox fighter, right? The outside calf kick, obviously, the jab to the body that he then uses to set up the left hook, things like that. But then I went back and I watched all of Alex Pereira's fights to see what he would do against southpaws. Okay, so every time Izzy switched to southpaw, I paid attention. Every time, do you know what I mean? Whenever somebody would switch to southpaw, I paid attention to what Alex Pereira would do, and because Alex Pereira's lead leg outside calf kick to a southpaw, there's almost no switch on it whatsoever. We know that his rear leg attack to the outside calf has almost no telegraph whatsoever. It comes at a very sharp angle. It's not like out and around. It goes almost like that and what have you. But the outside leg kick that he will throw to a southpaw off of his lead leg is so fucking quick. Almost as little telegraph as the one on his back leg. No switch to it whatsoever. Now, sometimes he does get a little lazy with it, but I don't remember a single fucking time when Israel Adesanya was able to check one of those. And Israel Adesanya, can't stand the guy. Whatever you want to say about him, boring fights, all that, whatever. Doesn't matter. He is a very good leg kicker, okay? And he can also check kicks very well. So I feel like if Israel Adesanya was not able to get a read on that, even when he's in southpaw and it's off of Alex Pereira's lead leg, not even his best weapon, it's going to be trouble for Jamal Hill. I went back and watched the Thiago Santos fight with Jamal Hill. Thiago Santos was able to land leg kicks from basically any position that he wanted, whether he was in southpaw, whether he was in orthodox, to the inside leg, to the outside leg, and what have you. Jamal Hill never really addressed them. Now, it didn't end up mattering, right? But I feel like eating those from Thiago Santos is a hell of a lot different from eating those from Alex Pereira. The technique's different. The power's different. This was after Thiago Santos had both his knees completely fucking torn to shreds against John Jones. He was never really the same after the fact. The power was never really the same. I think that that's going to be a problem because Alex Pereira can attack the outside calf off of both. Doesn't matter if you're in southpaw or orthodox. There's almost no tell whatsoever. Very quick and hard. Loud slaps, okay? Even if Jamal Hill's able to check a couple, I don't think it's going to fucking matter, okay? Because Alex Pereira went... Dude, before Alex Pereira showed up in the light heavyweight division, Jan Blachowicz is the best leg kicker aside from Alex Pereira. Point blank fucking period, okay? When it comes to leg kicking and checking. Jan Blachowicz was able to check some of Alex Pereira's kicks. Didn't matter. He kept throwing them. And eventually Jan Blachowicz was like, okay, this is fucked. When Jan Blachowicz's shins are rock hard, his feet are shaped like this, dude. Like, you've got a foot, and then you've got some weird lump at the top of his foot like that. That it looks, he's hitting you with a hammer or something, okay? It's unbelievable. But Alex Pereira was able to just, whatever, keep marching, keep chopping at the legs, and it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? His shins are a different level of conditioned, in my opinion. Also, something else that I noticed when his opponents would switch to southpaw is he doesn't really use a setup for the left hook anymore. He just wings it out there. He's going to feint a jab maybe a little bit of a shoulder twitch, but the left hook's going to come around. And there were a lot of times where he was able to actually catch Izzy, not perfectly cleanly, not enough to rock him or hurt him or whatever. But whenever Izzy would switch to southpaw, he was very quick to throw that left hook almost instantly. And it landed quite a few times. Other times it came very, very close. Now, I can see a world where Jamahal Hill knocks him out. As I said this is like a 51-49% fight for me. I could see Jamahal Hill pumping out like a double jab with the right hand and then stepping through with a big straight left hook, because Alex Pereira does seem to have a little bit of a susceptibility to straight shots. But then I went back and watched the Yuri Prochazka fight, and I feel like a lot of the times we think Alex Pereira is actually hurt or wobbled or rocked or what have you. I don't think he is, dude. He stands very straight up, okay? Very straight up. So he doesn't have a good like center. He's so fucking tall, and when he's standing straight up, when he gets hit, I feel like he just gets off balance a little bit. If I'm being honest, dude, because right before he landed those two, the right shovel hook or whatever, and then left hook on Yuri, he had gotten cracked with a good right hand, and it looked like he was stumbling back. But then he fires back with what he fired back with, and it turns out he was perfectly fucking fine. Do you know what I mean? So I think that his stance and the way that he stands so tall and straight up and shit kind of gives us a weird visual sometimes. Also, it's not really a straight shot that puts him out. It's more over the top of the shoulder. It's always like behind the ear that Izzy was able to land on him, okay? And Israel Adesanya had so much time and experience fighting and training for Alex Pereira before he was finally able to get it done. Do you know what I mean? So this isn't something where, like, dudes don't typically get it right the first time. Early on in his kickboxing career, there were guys that were a lot more skilled than him, and they were able to avoid the power shots, and they were able to win decisions over him. I think he's been TKO'd once in Glory. I can't remember exactly by who. Maybe Simon Marcus, maybe not. Either way, he was able to eventually, you know, get his skills on par, and then he had the power to go with it, and he has been doing this for a very long time. And I know that Jamahal Hill kind of says like, well, because he did kickboxing. It's like, no, it's not just because he did kickboxing, dude. It's because he was in the best kickboxing organization on the face of the planet, was a 2-division simultaneous champion, and knocked dudes out left, right, and center. As I said, I could see a world where Jamahal Hill knocks him out. What I think is going to happen, however, is I think that Alex Pereira is going to use that outside calf kick off of his, holy shit, dude, off of his lead leg, pardon me, to attack Jamahal Hill's right leg, the outside of it. And I think that after that, he's going to use that to set up a lead leg head kick, which Alex Pereira's lead leg head kick has, again, dude, this is something that he has obviously worked extensively on. Almost no tell, almost no switch whatsoever. Just whipped up there immediately. He actually landed it on Israel Adesanya in their first fight in the UFC, but it just kind of caught the toes. But I mean, if Adesanya was an inch forward or an inch that way or what have you, that could have been a knockout shot. And it came up fucking fast. And if I'm not mistaken, Israel Adesanya was in southpaw when he threw that shot. So I think that that's what he's going to do. When he's fighting an orthodox guy, he's going to set up the left hook. Though he's got to work for it a little bit. Jabs to the body, dropping his level, what have you. Get you to fucking react to the body jab. He's going to come over the top of the left hook. Southpaw, he doesn't really do that. He uses his left hook as like a jab almost, okay? Now, it will leave him open in instances, but still. Also, that lead leg, okay? His outside calf kick off of his left leg to Jamahal Hill's right leg is very quick, almost no telegraph, almost as little telegraph as his lead leg attack. And I think he's going to use that to set up a head kick. Also, dude, I'm not saying that Jamahal Hill's still injured, and I don't even want to bring it up because I feel like it'll take away from whatever happens this fight. But you never know, dude. That's a horrible injury. It took a long time. Maybe he just wanted to really get back in there. Maybe the pressure was on for UFC 300. Who knows, dude? He could, you know, he could knock him out. He could. It is what it is. Jamahal Hill's rear leg head kick is beautiful. If he can get Alex Pereira slipping that way, which he does typically like to do, by the way, Alex Pereira will slip to his right so that he can come back to the left and be corked up for that left hook. So that, you know, again, there's ways that Jamahal Hill can win. I'm not saying it's going to be a complete and total blowout, but I just think that Alex Pereira's striking is fantastic. And, you know, it is what it is, dude. Either way, like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.